Hello, everybody, and welcome to my short clip on storytelling and linking this to communities of practice. One thing that I would like to say is that I've been really blessed to work with many amazing communities of practice and people. And it's something that I'm really excited about, that you are all part of this community of practice, exploring communities of practice, which I think is amazing. What I'm going to do is take you through a short presentation linking communities of practice to storytelling. And I just want to start off with what a community of practice is. So, from the wonderful Etienne Wenger's definition, a community of practice is a group of people who share a common concern, a set of shared interests, or a set of problems. And it's always great to have this as the starting point. I want to tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about how I started to link the work that I do with storytelling. And when I was working at the University of Winchester, I set up a Wessex Green Hub with two fabulous friends and colleagues, Will Adney and the lovely Savitri Bartlett. And Savitri and I were talking and really thinking about how we can develop our workshop facilitation and our lecturing, and it came back to stories. So Savitri was telling me that she'd met someone who was a storyteller, and this very, very lovely person was called Chris Smith, and he did his PhD in this area, but he also was looking to think about how could we use this in higher education. So Savitri and I did a 10-week course with him from September to December 2020. And this is his business here, Storytelling Schools, Literacy, Oracy and Creativity. I've just realized that I thought I was sharing my screen and I wasn't. So I'm going to do that again. It shows you that I'm doing this live. Brilliant. So when we are looking at storytelling and linking this with communities of practice, have a look at this website, storytellingschools.com, because there's a huge amount of resource there, and Chris has done an amazing job. So what I'd like to do is just introduce you to what great stories need. Great stories need a mood that moves us. So think about some of the great stories that you love. Think about some of the films that you like, the books that you go back to again and again and again. So think about the mood that moves us. And you can also think about this when you're running a workshop as your community of practice. What moves us? What moves us to really deep double loop learning? What are the openings that hook? What are the settings that convince? What are the spaces that you create? How do you introduce characters that we care about? And actually reflecting on this in communities of practice, we care about each other and we care about our discipline. So how do you really build up our discipline as a character to show that we value it, to show that we care about it? How do we assess problems that matter? For all of you who are systems thinkers, we talk about wicked issues, things like global warming, things like COVID-19, things like poverty, inequality. All of these things are wicked issues and are interrelated. So these are all problems that matter. When we tell our story, we might be telling our story about doing an MBA or a master's or a PhD or a degree program, or writing a story or writing a case study for an improvement community of practice or a community of practice practitioners. What are some of the middles, the key points, the touch points that you could build in that build drama? And then how do you have endings that satisfy? And what I mean by that, is it redemption? Is it some deep learning? Is it an aha moment? Is it a eureka moment? Is it that you suddenly come up with a fantastic bit of Lego that you think, I'm going to use this in all of my sessions? What are the actions at the end that are clear? And then what descriptions can you use that are vivid? This is a template that Chris Smith has developed from his work and his analysis. And this is what he says a good story needs. And what we're inviting you to do as part of the session is to think about your own journey as practitioners and how you came to be interested in communities of practice and how have you developed this within your own organization. So we're going to invite you to think about where has this taken place? What is the situation, the place, the university, the team? Who was involved? Who did you invite to help you craft this experience, this space, whether it's physical space, virtual space, emotional space, mental space, spiritual space? What were you exploring? Were you exploring Lean Six Sigma, or were you exploring organizational development? Were you thinking about continuous improvement or ADKAR or kindness in organizations? What were you exploring? What obstacles have you had? Nothing ever goes smoothly. What obstacles have we have? What setbacks have you seen? Then who helped you? Who was your mentor? Who was the person that helped you develop your ideas? What was your solution? What was the ending of this either act or chapter or story? And what learning did you take from that? So these are the elements of stories. What I'd like to do now is play you a short clip. And this is linking stories to the hero's journey.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo, that's where we start. 1 o'clock, call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock, assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock, departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock, trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock, approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock, crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock, treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, or power. 8 o'clock, result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from the special world? 9 o'clock, return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, Resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the lottery. How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey, Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo?
So I hope you enjoyed that. I just want to offer you another template and to ask you, what's your story and how are you telling it? So this is another template that you could use, which talks about the different parts of the story, your call to adventure, your supreme ordeal or initiation. Part 3, your transformation or unification. Then part 4, your road back or your hero's return. Another one, you can start to think about it in terms of a linear process, if that's the way that you like to work. Or you could start to develop your style in terms of a rich picture. And while I was watching that clip, I made the connection between this and soft systems methodology that some of you may have come across, where we look at what's happening in the real world and then what is happening in the systems world. So here we have the return, we have the departure, the initiation. And actually, you can start from any point because you can think, well, where am I now? I'm at the end, I'm at the resolution. You could work your way back. So the theory of change, for example, is one of those methodologies that you could use. And then this is another template that you might like to use, where Savannah Gilbo talks about 3 acts. And in Act 1, you're in the ordinary world, you have the call to adventure, you then have meetings with your mentor, and then you cross the first threshold. So this could be, if you're a lean practitioner, what got you into lean? You could then think about the second act, your tests, your allies, your enemies, approaching the innermost cave where you truly understand how you work, what works for you and what doesn't. The second half of Act 2, the ordeal. Going through all of the learning, going through the change is difficult. Then the reward at the end could be the journey itself. The road back is when you're embedding this within your practice, and then you return with the elixir, a little nugget of knowledge. And again, one more template to offer you here. So my invitation to you all for today is what's your story? What's your story around your communities of practice? How are you going to tell it? What approach are you going to choose? I really look forward to seeing them. Take care, everybody.